See, the thing is with this, you could say that it's a sad story, and this is kind of a sad story we're going to talk about. But understand this. What is law in one state is not a law in another state, and you got to be careful. And this is the same thing when you're traveling overseas. You might be for the cannabis trade, so the situation, you may work in the cannabis trade, but you have to understand, if you are crossing that state line, you have to adhere to the laws in that particular state. And the thing about it is, it can get you in trouble. And, it's going to happen. Whether you agree or disagree with this story, and this is out from the city, and this particular guy works in the cannabis trade, and right now he's being held, facing charges in Pennsylvania, where marijuana it's illegal. Hat tips to the city on this one. This is another good article from them. You kind of want to feel sorry for this guy, but yeah, he did walk into this eyes open to the situation. I know he wants to do something legitimate and all that, and I hail him for that. But you have to understand, know the rules, know the regulations, know when you step outside your own state or your own country even, the rules can change. And that's where you have to be careful. And for someone who works in the cannabis trade, you also got to remember one important thing. Keep your stuff out of your car, especially. Because if you travel, go rent a car if you're going across state lines if you work on there. Because, you get pulled over, one good whiff, and they're going to bust you. And it seems like this is what happened with this particular. A bud tender at New York's first legal pot shop is in Rikers on pot charges. And you're like, wait, they're holding him in Rikers? Yeah, they're holding him for extradition. This was back on the 24th of October, so some things may have changed by now. An employee of the city's first legal marijuana dispensary is being held in Rikers on a cannabis-related felony charge in a striking example of how pot, despite being legal in New York State, can still drag people into the criminal justice system as it remains illegal under federal law and those of several states. But you got to respect those states. If those states choose not to go, make cannabis legal, you have to respect that law. And that's the same thing with many other laws. That's why there's a difference with situations. If the feds want to continue to make it illegal, that is their disposition of the situation. Understand that. You may not like it. You vote someone in that you want to change the law. That's your objection. But if it still continues that way, you need to respect the law. When the police pulled over the 33-year-old Jamar George in Brooklyn on October 11th as he was driving to a friend's house after a shift as a lead bud tender at the Housing Works Cannabis Company, they found he was driving without a license. Strike one. And there he had a warrant against him in Pennsylvania. Strike two. The charges were stemmed from several cannabis-related charges. He was arrested back in 2021. His fiancée, Audrey Ramos, told the city that he had left his license at home. A little mistake was made, but he was fixing it, she said. Nothing that George had made trips back to Pennsylvania to deal with the charges there, but missed a hearing after one of those dates was moved up suddenly last year. That's when the warrant was issued. When police pulled him over in New York, George was detained. 2 days later, he was sentenced to 7 days at Rikers for the license charge. But more than a week later, George is still being held there, awaiting extradition to Pennsylvania, where he is facing a felony charge of possession with intent to distribute, strike 3, of marijuana, along with 6 misdemeanor charges, including a DUI for a Schedule 1 drug. With no bail set yet in the case, which could carry up to 15 years of prison time, Mike Castle, a former colleague at the Housing Works Cannabis Company, who left to run his own consulting firm, has put together a GoFundMe to raise money for George's legal fees and prospective bail. That raised more than $10,000 as a Monday evening, with Haskell telling the city that the cannabis community has really stepped up to support Jamal and makes it proud to be part of it. The district attorney in York County, Pennsylvania, said it did not comment on active cases. Phone calls on Monday to the public defender representing George in Pennsylvania were not returned, nor a call to the public defender at Legal Aid Society in New York. No more arrests, no more convictions, no more incarceration. Cannabis lawyer Jeffrey Hoffman, who was involved in the George case, wrote in an email to the city about detaining, calling it madness. But see, the thing about it is, he was detained because he didn't have his license with him. That is still against the law. That is still against the law in New York. That hasn't changed. And see, that's the thing. Here's the major thing before we finish this off. When you're arrested and you see situations, okay, you get pulled over and you begin to put up a tussle to the situation and stuff like that, why they're handcuffing you and stuff like that. Well, the thing about it is, a lot of times a minor situation can turn into major if you haven't taken care of your situations. If you have a lawyer, whether it is a court-appointed or out of your own pocket, you need to continue to communicate. You have to give a proper address. Answer the because you know the letters have been sent out. If they move this up and they didn't mail the letters, yeah, okay, then you have a fight in the court where the court says, okay, we'll take the warrant back. No problem, we do apologize. But if they did send letters out, he didn't respond to it, okay? He didn't respond to it. It is his responsibility to do that. That will get you incarcerated, okay? That will get you in trouble no matter where you are in the country. Because if you, say you're on vacation, you're traveling Florida or California, any of the states, and you get pulled over just for running a light, they're going to run your name in the system, and if you come up in another state, they're going, and it says, you know, that you have to be arrested. The police in that state will arrest you. Contact that particular state that you got in trouble in, and they will ask for extradition. This happens constantly. But let's read on. A longtime cannabis user, George became interested in becoming part of New York's new legal market after legalization passed in March 2021. Previously a bartender, George attended a 4-week training in retail cannabis, worked by nonprofit Hospitality Pathways last year. Jamal has always made it clear that he intended to work in the legal cannabis market, and he took steps to do that, says his former colleague Hassel. For years, he runs a small edible business with his fiancée that have 2 children together, and also volunteer to make birthday cakes for people who can't afford them, which that's nice. That is nice that you do that. Ramos was featured in New York One, the New Yorker of the Week on New York One. That's our local news on Spectrum. Last December for her volunteer work. George was one of the first people through the program to get the job in a legal marketplace, said Beatrice Stein, who runs the nonprofit. We are heartbroken and we're just doing everything we can to try to help him, she said. While at Housing Works, George became a regular at industry events after steeping himself into the knowledge of various cannabis strains and types of products, his colleague says. He's just pivotal to the operation over at the Housing Works, says Colin Decker, the owner of Cannabis 7Cs, which sells products at Housing Works. Decker spread the word about George's detention on his Instagram page after learning about it this weekend. You can expect, like these other states, to be where we are in New York, but regardless of that, it is still ridiculous how it affects someone's life, he said. But starting in the pathway in legal weed, George was arrested in York, Pennsylvania in August 2021 after a stop for making a turn in the wrong lane, according to records and interviews. George and his fiancee Ramos were on a trip with their child to visit the amusement park Hershey Park a few hours away. Cops said they smelled cannabis in the car. Ramos recalled when the police searched the vehicle, they found packages of edibles that she said they had forgotten about. George was charged with possession as well as driving under the influence of a Schedule I drug based on a blood test. Because cannabis can stay in the bloodstream for days, a positive test isn't necessary, indicating of impaired driving the way a failed breathalyzer is indicated of drunk driving, something states, including those that have legalized marijuana, have struggled to address. George made it to the first hearing case, but the date of the second hearing was changed and the notice was sent to the address where he no longer lived, according to the interviews with his family and friends. See, there we go. It was sent to the wrong address. If he moved, he has to keep up those addresses. He hadn't been hired at Housing Works yet and was having car problems last November when the warrant first was issued, said Ramos. After George nearly 2 weeks in Rikers, Ramos said she's talking to him less and less. He's getting maced every day in there, she said, starting to cry. I started telling him not to call me, Ramos said, adding that she could often hear people arguing while she's on the phone with them. I don't want him arguing, I just want him out. And that's the situation. Understand, he wasn't even working for cannabis and he was arrested for this. Okay? He was carrying edibles in his car. Again, it goes, it's not that I'm laughing at the situation. It just brings up that whole Chris Rock bit.
Now, before you let your friend in your car, ask them these questions. Do you have a gun? Do you have drugs? Do you have any warrants? And in case you do get pulled over by the cops,
license and registration, please.
Remind your friend to do this one thing. Shut the fuck up.
That's the one thing. If you're working in the industry or you smoking, rent a car. And the other thing is make sure you've soaked your clothes properly. See, that's the one thing. It's like tobacco too. You know a tobacco smoker, if they're a heavy smoker, by the scent on their body. And it's the same thing with cannabis. It does permeate into your clothing. You get pulled over by the cops. You may have not smoked, say, in 24 hours. But they sit there, you smoke cannabis, and it's going to make them want to look into your car. And you may say, well, that's kind of illegal. No, it's not. It's the same thing with alcohol. You get pulled over and you smell like alcohol. They're going to pull you over, check everything out, and if they smell it, hey, listen, that you're going to get in trouble. I've had friends pulled over who just went to the liquor store, hasn't even had a drink, but unfortunately, what happened was they were at a party where drinking was around. Someone spilled a drink on them, and they went to go buy something. They had nothing to drink, but the cops took him in anyway because he smelled like alcohol. You say, well, that's not fair. Well, the thing about it is they're protecting the public. Remember that. They don't know what you've done. All they could do is test you. If you refuse the test, they're going to take you in, and then they're going to still run a test on you. They're going to run a blood test. See, the thing about with cannabis, it stays in your bloodstream for a longer period. That's why if you've ever taken a job test, where do they check you first? They take your hair. I remember when I worked with Blockbuster for a short period of time, the drug test I took was a hair sample. It wasn't a urine sample, it was a hair sample. I passed, but still, they took a hair sample because basically it gets into your bloodstream and through your hair. And it's the same thing. If they take a blood test, they could figure out, yeah, listen, he does smoke. He may have smoked before he left on his trip. That could have been, say, 3, 4, 5 hours. But remember, you are carrying edibles in your car. Maybe it was in the trunk of your car. You have your child and wife or girlfriend, whoever is in the car with you, okay? That is a danger in itself, especially having it in the car. They don't mention where it is in the car. Your child could have picked it up and opened it up, candy, and ate it. That's a danger in itself. You say, well, the kid, I do teach the kids get into things. You hear the situations on there. I mean, the thing about it is, this guy sounds very intelligent. Okay, he sounds very intelligent. In fact, he's hit some bad roads on here, on Jamal. But he sounds like he has a very, head on his shoulders, because basically, he went in, studied all this. But why stop at cannabis? Why not get into a business structure? You could probably get your own business outside the smoking end. You might be able to say, hey, listen, open up a candy store, open up a mini mart, go into maybe consulting. You're a person who studies all this stuff, but you should be encouraged to move out of this. Okay, as much as you think it is, this has gotten you into trouble. But you should move out of it and move into something that's a little bit more legitimate. Maybe your wife baking, that might be, a bakery might be the way to go. Think about that for a minute. You have a good head on your shoulder. Use it. That's the problem these days. You get put down because you've had these situations, but there are a lot of intelligent people out there. Some of them need that chance. And I hope that the Pennsylvania does him right and, takes the situation and don't send him away for that extended period of time. Hopefully he gets out, of Rikers, because Rikers is not safe at all. And moves on to, Pennsylvania. Let that be judged, quitted out. And, hopefully they hear a story like mine and maybe New York one. And maybe that may say, give him a second chance. But understand, carry a license. Make sure there's not stuff, if you go out of state, out of country, make sure you're not carrying anything that gets you in trouble. Whether you agree or disagree with the laws in each individual state or different country, abide by them. Truly abide by them. You'll stay out of trouble. You might get pulled over for running a light, a broken taillight, and you say, yes, officer, what seems to be the license, registration? Sure, here they are. And that's it. You'll be on your way. But what I've seen lately, people say, well, you pulled me over because of my color of my skin. If someone's speeding, driving at 100 miles an hour, I don't think they could see the color of your skin. I don't think if the cop is on the side of a road and he drives right by and he runs a red light, he ain't looking at the color of your skin. He's looking that you drove through a red light. Look at all these police videos. Look at the series Cops. Look at, everything that's out there. And you'll see that, hey, listen, in most cases, the driver's in the wrong. And they got to respect the law. But with Jamal George, I hope things work out for you. And like I said, you probably might be better off not edible bakery, but a regular bakery. If your wife can make, if Miss Ramos can make some real good stuff and she makes cakes and gives them away free, maybe you might want to get into that business. But who am I to say about this but a man with a show?
Thanks for watching. Before you go, please comment, like, and share this video. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe as this helps the reach of our channel. Finally, as a content viewer, you have that ability to help support this and many other channels. Especially now more than ever since the passing of a new law in the United Kingdom that will diminish the reach of many channels and affect our advertisers. If you wish to help grow this channel by financial support, you have two ways. There are two links in the description below. The first will send you to a pay site where you can make a monetary donation. The second will send you to our gear store where you can purchase t-shirt, mugs, and other specialty items. Any additional discounts will be listed on the main page. Once again, thank you for watching and your support.